Today we're going to be talking all about steroids. I've been improving.
We're talking about drugs.
Yeah. So I've been improving a lot, and there's been a very high percentage of the comments in my comment section that are asking if I'm on roids or if steroids are good for making you jump higher. And I think it's part of it is it's normal to assume I am on stuff because whenever you think of any high performance athlete, specifically in track and field, I feel like in Olympic athletes, the first thought that everybody ever thinks is, oh, they're on steroids or PEDs or whatever it is. So today we are going to address all those things. He has
I have a lot
few
of questions. Yeah,
prepared
I have
for
a lot
me.
of questions. So one, I have a question. Are you on drugs?
No.
Are you?
Well, caffeine.
I'm gonna ask you more specific questions now.
Okay.
This is a lie detector test, so you guys can
Okay.
read his body language and see if he's lying. Have you ever taken any performance enhancing drugs?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Are you on steroids?
No.
Are you on testosterone?
No.
Have you ever taken human growth hormone?
No.
Have you ever taken SARMs?
No.
Have you ever taken anything to increase your endogenous levels of testosterone?
Nope.
Have you ever taken anything to increase your endogenous levels of growth hormone?
Nope.
Have you ever taken anything to increase your levels of IGF-1?
Nope. I just eat cereal, man. That's it.
Have you ever taken anything to increase the health of your tendons?
No.
Have you ever taken anything
Fish
to
oil.
Oh, fish oil. All right, fish oil. Have you ever blood doped?
No.
Have you ever taken EPO?
No.
All right, that's about all that was basically what the questions I wanted to know.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. I asked him. I know you guys have been wondering if he's on any of those. Can I check your arms to
Yeah.
see if you're taking anything?
You can check my booty too.
Yeah, let's check your cheeks. Let's check the cheeks. That's obviously where the steroids go in. I think it's the upper right
Yeah.
quadrant, right?
I wouldn't know.
that was a good test. That was a good test. Yeah, so we see it a lot, and I think that it's natural to assume that he's on steroids or that he's I don't know, that we wouldn't be transparent about it, but we are. And if you want to send this in to More Plates, More Dates and hear his lens on it, based on looking at Isaiah's progress, I'm pretty confident he would be like, yeah, I don't think this kid's on.
And
but
blood. I should do a blood
yeah.
test.
I think a blood test would be interesting. I think that you would find, because I've done it, I've done a blood test before. My growth hormone was high, my testosterone was high, my DHT was low, actually slightly low. The ratio of those is really important for hair loss, so I take finasteride, which is why my DHT is a little bit lower. And I forget, my estrogen was low. It wasn't like crazy low, but it was in the lower quadrant. And there was something else. My thyroid hormones were like not hyper, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
A lot or a little?
Like a lot, but there's a name for it where your thyroid hormones, like T1, T2, T3, thyroxine, I think is the other one.
Yeah.
They're all kind of related because it's like a loop, so one impacts another. I don't know the biochemical loops of that, and I'm not going to pretend to, but in school they basically teach you it's a positive feedback loop or negative feedback loop. So like some of them will upregulate, some of them will downregulate. I think most of them are negative feedback loops, but there's like a bunch of different glands that respond to like the binding sites on those glands. When that hormone will bind to it, it'll like cause another biochemical process where the hormones will go up or down. Like your adrenal gland, your pituitary gland is like intimately involved in that process. So yeah, I guess maybe the next question is why not? Why aren't you on anything?
Yeah, so I actually personally don't have anything against PEDs. Like,
So do you plan on taking steroids in the future?
I'll get into it. But I personally, as far as other athletes doing it, I don't have anything against it. I do think what I do have something against is athletes lying about it. I think athletes should be open to it. I don't think they should be banned. And it's literally just because I want to see what's possible. Like, I want to see freak athletes.
What about health?
I think, bro, people drink every day. And that is one of the most horrible things you can do for your body. Is binge
but
drinking every day.
I think it's a lot. I think the difference is you would see, binge drinking every day is different. But I'd say like drinking once a week is different than.
Well, what I mean is people binge drink every day and that's legal.
Oh, like every day in the world, people are out there drinking, and like it's
Yeah,
legal, right? I see
yeah.
what you're
Like I
saying.
think you should
Well, in some
be.
places it is. Like Ireland, I think it's like totally legal. I don't know actually. Don't quote me. Or Scotland or something.
Yeah,
Like Cami has said, like you can just like go anywhere and get it if you really want.
yeah.
Um,
I know there are health risks, and it's actually That's the main reason I don't do it. Um,
like what specifically are you worried about?
the psychological effects kind of freak me out. I've heard people talk about it because the more testosterone you have, the more propensity you'll have to like anger and violence and violent thoughts. I've also heard that it upregulates your anxiety. So those are all things. I want to retain my mental health, and I don't want to mess with that. So that's one side effect. The other one is I don't want to increase my chances of like getting cancer, my ability to have kids.
Do you think being a father has impacted your lens on
Yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Those are all things I don't want to mess with, and it's to the point where I'm not willing to take that risk to do that. I will say if I were to ever do it, you would know. Like I would make it public. I would probably document it, to be honest. I think it would be cool to see, and I would be like, all right, this is where I got to before PEDs, and this is where I'm at after. But because of the health risk, I honestly don't see myself ever doing that.
Do you see any moral or like so we talked a little bit about like ethics, values, morals.
Yeah.
How would you address each of those and what's your views on each of those related to steroids?
I think if you lie about it, that's wrong. Like it's
morally
ethically,
wrong.
yeah, it's like ethically wrong to lie about it. I think in sports and competition, I think because it is illegal, that makes it ethically wrong to your competitors to do it. Like if you're on stuff and then you're competing against other guys that can't be on stuff, then I see something wrong with that.
So dunking, they don't test.
Yeah.
So do you feel like if you were on and you were open about it, but you know everyone else isn't
There-
on,
so
probably, or most of the people, we don't know
Yeah.
about everyone, but most of the people we
There,
consume
I
are
think
not.
there is something. I think that gets into a gray area too, because if your income is tied to it, then technically there is something kind of ethically wrong with that.
I think that's the worst. I think doing steroids when everyone else is not doing it and then lying about it is probably the most narcissistic, fucked up thing you can do.
Yeah.
Is like not being honest about, not being openly transparent about it. And it's possible that certain like competitions or judges won't invite you.
Yep.
You might not get as many events. It might hurt your notoriety because if I'm going to a contest against you and I know you're using and you're openly using and you tell everyone that you're using, and I'm another person from a different state or a different country and I'm not using, why would I want to go and openly compete with you? You were already the best. Now you're using, right? Or you were debatably, I mean, you could debate that you're the best, and now you're openly using, and now I'm supposed to be expected to be a clean athlete and go compete against you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it really does come down to your comfort level with using a performance enhancing drug
Yeah.
and your comfort with risk. Like at the
Yep.
end of the day, and this is another thing I was thinking too when you're talking about I think it's not the same. I think it's apples and oranges when you're looking at the impact of taking even HRT in comparison to or performance enhancing drugs, whether it's testosterone, the cream, the whatever the heck that they used in Canada or whatever, versus like other like drugs, because hormones. So first off, technically it's a hormone and it's not necessarily like, I don't know why it's a drug, but that's kind of interesting. Like it's a lipid you're putting in your body. I'm pretty sure steroids are lipids. They're like a fat, and it causes like it binds to things and it causes a change, or in some cases I guess a drug could do that. But either way, that I'm not going to get into that's neither here nor there. It's not really relevant, but I think that the impacts of it are long lasting and the dosages are much higher than what like the impact of drinking once a week or smoking weed. Even if you're smoking weed every day, I don't think that has nearly as much of an impact on your physiology than openly taking human growth hormone or testosterone or something that's going to aid in the production of those hormones to scientifically significant level, meaning like there is a not just a little bit of a significant difference,
Yeah.
but a major significant difference in like your response to those compounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it. Oh man, it's getting rainy. We're gonna sit through the rain.
I'm down to sit.
We're sitting through the rain, bro. We're sitting through the rain.
You keep talking. I'm gonna get my
shorts.
sweater.
Yeah. It's drizzling here. So I think that for me, those are the big qualms. And then another thing is that it is dangerous. Like there is inherent risk to doing it, and I think that you have to be willing to. It's less about who's training the hardest or anything else. It's more about like how much risk are you willing to accept. And you see it in bodybuilding. Like bodybuilding has become a sport of, risk. What would you call it? Like propensity. Like how much are you willing to do? And people are like, oh, it's all genetics. But what they don't realize is you form more satellite cells when you start taking steroids, i.e. you get more muscle cells. They don't just get bigger. You get more cells and they get bigger. And that doesn't go away. It's not like you lose those muscle cells. Hyperplasia happens. And that's one of the major benefits for people to do or that do drugs. I've seen kids with the worst genetics get on insane cycles and just get huge. Like there was someone that went to my high school, was like a very normal looking guy, normal athlete, got up to like 245, just huge. And it was like, dude, you've been lifting for years, and all of a sudden in 2 years you went from 160 pounds and like kind of fat and pudgy to 240 pounds, and your head now looks like a goddamn fucking watermelon. Like,
and I've seen it too. I'm not gonna say names, but I have a family member who got on it, and it was like a year. I met him at the beginning of the year when he wasn't on it, and then a year later just got freaking massive.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? The other thing that makes things complex, I don't think it's so much the take dunking. It's not the organizer that would have a problem. I think it's not fair to the dunkers.
The competitors.
And especially when we're in the jump training space, and we know the more traffic you have, the more related it will be to getting more sales. So it would make sense if someone got on steroids and they're hitting crazier dunks, making a lot of progress. That might increase how many sales they make. But then you have other people in the jump training space that are trying to do it, and it becomes really shaky. Like it's just such a gray area on if it's ethically right or wrong.
I want to address the viewers too, because there's a lot of questions that I think are going to come up from this.
Yeah.
Why do you think that so many people think that you're on?
I think,
like, what is it specifically you think that cues people off to say he's definitely cheating?
I think anytime you see someone at the pinnacle of performance, whatever it might be, whether it be sprinting, whether it be strength sports, whether it be jumping, it's not safe to assume. It's
fair to
it's logical to assume that they're
question
on stuff because of the history of, I think with like track and field particularly, like all the drug busts that have happened. I've seen the Icarus on Netflix. I watched the guy who supplied drugs for like Barry Bonds and all those guys.
oh shit!
Untold. It was on Untold on
why
Netflix.
did his name just slipped my mind?
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about. Though.
But
he went to jail.
I was
for
watching
18 months.
I was watching these documentaries, and it's all these guys that got exposed, and I think even me, like growing
Victor
up,
Conti.
Victor Conti, yeah.
Got it.
Like growing up, I always assumed the elite athletes were on stuff, even until recently. And you know who actually changed my mind on that? I think I've told you this before. Is Donovan. Like, Donovan.
Wait, why?
How freaky he is, how big he is, like how high he jumps, how big he is, how strong he's gotten. Like from the outside looking in, if I was a random person, like take me like 2 years ago, if I saw Donovan come up on the scene, I would assume he's on stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I never would have.
Yeah, I would assume he's on stuff because he's the type. Like to me, he reminds me of an NFL player. And when I think of NFL players, I think
So
they're on steroids. Or when I think of LeBron James, right? I think
maybe he's on.
I think steroids. So, but then seeing him, he's obviously not in steroids. And then seeing with myself getting to a 50-inch vertical, that would be something I used to not think it would be possible unless.
See, when I think about steroids, for me, what comes up are the guys that we know we're on, right?
Yeah.
Like who were the two, like Barry Bonds? Dude, look at the transformation he went through. That is blatantly a user, right?
Yeah.
And you have the pitcher or the other big time hitter. I can't remember his name. Do you know what I'm talking about? But he was like
the white guy.
Yeah,
The,
Mark. Is it Mark something?
Yeah.
I can't remember. But those guys were
Mark
massive.
McGuire?
Mark McGuire,
Yeah.
massive. You're talking 265 pounds, like just huge, giant human
And
beings.
even the Victor Conti guy, the guy they trained, he went from like a low 10s, maybe high 9s, 100-meter dash.
Talking about Ben Johnson or the other guy?
The other guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then in literally 6 months, like it was like basically a summer and then like the fall, he gained like 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And then broke the world record.
Yeah.
In the 100-meter dash.
Like, it's a very noticeable shift
Yeah.
when someone is on, and it happens very quickly. And, I mean, now there's, like, you could elevate them a little bit. Like, it's not all the same. Just because you're taking something doesn't mean you're taking the crazy doses that some other people were or could have been. But, like, you look at bodybuilders, and when I see bodybuilders, specifically the competitive guys, if you look like that, it's very possible that you're probably on. If you're pushing 240 under 6 foot, and you're like 4 or 5% body fat, and you look like a freak, you're like, it's very possible that you're on. And now you have guys that are like in these other bodybuilding competitions that are on like just enough where their physique looks crazy, and you can kind of question. I think that's where you are. Like, people probably look at you and they're like, oh, well, he's this freak athlete. But when you look at him, like, I don't look at your legs, and like they look crazy. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like I'm looking at you know, a bodybuilder or like some of these other aspects. And some people would say, well, what about the recovery? And I think you would see a lot of hypertrophy regardless. I mean, I think some of these CrossFit guys that we know are on, like Ricky Garrard is still, he lifts more than you, don't get me wrong, like frequently and more weight, but he was knowingly on. And it's not like his physique looked good and crazy, and it was definitely better than yours. And there's a debate to be made, like, oh, well, you can't really tell for some guys, but I feel like you can. Like, I feel like you know when someone's on.
You hit the nail on the head when you talk about the progresses. That's where you would know. Like, if they've been plateaued for a long time, and then you see a massive increase out of nowhere.
In something.
I think what makes people assume I'm on stuff is they'll see me jump in a certain level, and then all of a sudden I'll
just jump up.
I like actualize all the training.
That's
and
just
stuff.
good training,
but they don't realize, like, take my session yesterday or on Friday, for example. Like, I was getting a lot of comments that were like, whoa, you disappeared, like, oh, he's back, blah, 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 all this stuff.
No, he was never gone.
And, like, people don't realize that I've been training, I've been posting dunks, I've had deloaded dunk sessions. Like,
people do that with
my
me all the
vertical
time,
realistically might have not even got into 51. It might have not been 50.5 on Friday. Maybe it was maybe it was 50. And they don't realize, like, how slow the progress is at the point where I'm at. So,
and it's not even that; it's the variability in performances.
Yeah.
Like, so you could have a great day to a terrible day, and that could happen in a 5-day span.
Another reason why I choose not to do it is risk of injury.
Oh, you think your shit would just tear?
Yeah, bro. Think about like the muscle pulls that
bodybuilders hurt themselves like
lifting.
doing bicep curls.
Yeah,
which is hard to do.
Yeah,
that's hard to do.
And now
like to tweak to tear a muscle.
Freaking high velocity, the high rate of force development activity with the outputs, and then now just dial it up a little more. Like, I don't think I'd be able to handle that. Like, I can barely handle things as it is, and to add even more output on top of that I'd have to be so freaking careful.
I think people would argue that your connective tissue would be healthier on
but even
SARMs
then,
or HGH.
I gave you this example the other day.
BP5
if there was a PED that improved the health of my connective tissue, I would just jump even more to the point where the now healthier tissue would also get messed up. Like,
so you're just gonna keep
if you gave
hurting
me
yourself.
something that strengthened my tendons, and now I can handle jumping for 2 hours straight, guess what I would do? Because I'm stupid and I have no self-control. Now I would start jumping for 3 hours. So I don't know. To me, the risks, the health side effects aren't worth it.
Let me wipe the lens off and make sure. I don't see if it's
the injury, the health side effects aren't worth it. The mental side effects aren't worth it. The injury risk isn't worth it. It's such an ethical gray area that even that isn't worth it. And I don't know.
Do you feel like it's cheating in your space? If you started using it, do you feel like it's cheating? In any space, is it cheating?
Great. The thing is, I would want to see it. Like, I would want to see a freak athlete.
But that wasn't the question.
I don't know. I think my want of someone to do it, like the curiosity, would supersede I do think it's cheating, but I don't think I would care.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Because I would be curious.
It's like when you're in a relationship, you're like, yeah, my partner cheated, but I don't care because I just wanted to see what happened.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just wanted to know how
But
things
then if
played
they're
out.
like, not like, it's more like it's like somebody else's partner. You're seeing somebody else's partner cheating. I'm like just curious. Like, what are they?
It's still cheating, but like I want to know what the juicy drama
Yeah,
is
yeah,
in the situation. Like
exactly.
it's entertainment.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, I definitely think that it's the biggest, personally, why I wouldn't want to see you do it is it takes the coaching out of it for me. I think that I take a lot of pride in that. That's probably where my ego is probably the most intense, is in my ability to coach. And when you use drugs, you take that out of the equation. Coaching doesn't matter
As
much.
much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as much. You could do a better job with the drugs, don't get me wrong, but I just think that it kind of muddies everything. You know, you could have a pretty shit program, and if you're on stuff, it's not going to matter, right? Well, it's going to matter a hell of a lot less. It's going to be a lot easier to make progress, and it's just going to muddy everything. And then when you're on versus not on, what happens? And then are you getting worse? Are you sustaining? Do you always have to be on? Will you ever accept the coaching that you got previously as being good or bad? Because now, is it the drugs or is it the training? Like it just,
and then there would be
it
a
just
negative
muddies
connotation.
everything.
Like if I were to get on stuff, even if we were clear about it, about like when it was that I started, how much progress before versus progress after, it would now be. What?
Just put, oh.
I was like, why are you touching me?
Because you like it?
Coach, why are you touching me?
I like it when you touch me there. All right, anyways.
No, I think it would taint the
our
THP
reputation.
name.
Yeah.
And that's also something I don't want to mess with. There's too many negative
It's also
consequences.
kids. Like there's like kids that watch us, you know, and like
yeah.
I think that's where
DARE program, man. Say no to drugs.
Yeah, exactly. I always have stood by DARE. It has like long held its grip on me, and I'm a avid anti-drug advocate.
Yeah.
Even in any area, actually. Like I don't like them at all. You can ask anyone in my life. And I'm sure there's people on here and people have talked about it in the past where like, why? And I'm like, I just have my I do have my reasons. But DARE definitely played a major role in that. Shout out DARE. Say no to drugs. But there are a lot of implications and risks, and in my experience, a lot of people that do that sort of stuff, I don't feel like they achieve their potential as a human. It is a shortcut. That's another thing too. That's another reason I don't like it is, so what, you're just gonna, it does a disservice to all the people who don't use.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, if you're in your 50s or something and you want to take some TRT or HRT or whatever, hormone replacement therapy, because you just want to live and have a higher quality of life, that's different. But if you're just like, I don't want to put all the work in that they did, and I just want to get there faster, and I'm lazy and entitled, and I'm just going to take this pill, to me, that's just abhorrent. Like, and it's not necessarily that they don't work hard, it's just that they're doing it a lot faster. You know what I mean? And it's immediate gratification versus delayed gratification. And to me, it's like, specifically,
kind of the opposite of what we preach.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, hey, you don't need to be consistent. All you need to do is like take this drug, train for 3 months, and like you'll be better than you've ever been or whatever. And like to me, that's just gross. I don't like that. That does bother me personally.
That's also why.
Like even in business, that bothers me.
That's also why it's such a lucrative business, though.
What, selling drugs?
Yeah, like steroids in general. Like if you were to be able to make a pill that caused you to jump higher, you'd be able to charge $10,000 for it. Versus with our training, you have to freaking put someone's arm behind their back just to give up $50 for good ass coaching.
Yeah.
Like, but I bet you. Like,
that's why I always tell you have to fall in love with the process.
Bro, think about.
That's why people that don't fall in love with the process.
Think about the kids, right? Think about the kids that can't afford $50 a month for coaching or $100 a month for coaching, right? If you were to make a pill that was worth $10,000 and it increased your vertical by 6 inches, no side effects, bro, those same kids, I bet you would start working every day. They would start freaking cold calling everybody, buy a lawnmower, go knock on everybody's door, shovel snow, and they would make it happen.
They take a loan out.
Because that inherently, that's part of what value is how quick can something happen.
Wait, how long would it take? Like overnight?
Yeah. If it was an
overnight.
instant, you take the pill, go to sleep, wake up, your vertical is 6 inches higher. Like, that's just the reality. That's just human nature.
And I don't get hurt?
Yeah, you don't get hurt.
the ethical part of it, I just can't.
Yeah.
Like that's where I struggle
But it would
personally.
crush. It would crush.
Oh no, it would do well.
That would be a
I just never could do that.
That might be a billion with a billion-dollar business
Overnight.
if you had that.
You're probably improves a lot of other performances too, and dunking's fun, so that would be cool.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's probably a good place
yeah.
to
I think
close
that's
it
a good
off.
spot,
We sat
yeah.
through the rain for this, guys.
yeah.
That says a lot.
I
But-
think in conclusion, no, we're not on stuff. 99% chance that I'll never be on stuff. If I ever do, I'll say it. And I think we'll leave it with we are proponents of consistency, hard work, the grind, the human condition of suffering and being able to like persevere through that. The lessons you learned about that you can take to your personal life that you learn. Like life isn't just about jump training, but the lessons you learn from jump training are so applicable to all of life. Like that's why we do it. So
And I just love suffering
yeah.
myself.
So having said that, if you enjoy suffering and you love jump training and you just lie awake at night thinking about dunking and jumping, go to THPStrength.com. We'll coach you to jump higher. 40% off sale month of December. Link in the description. Let's go train.
All right. See you guys. Bye. Dude, I am wet.
I'm wet. I'm so wet.